Hello, good afternoon. My name is Nadia Stearns, and I'm the admin assistant at Pecos Valley Regional Education Cooperative 8. And today we're going to learn how to insert and format certain graphs and charts in Excel. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And that way we can get in Excel and I can show you a graph that I've already created, and then we can work to create a similar graph. Okay, so I did a training in October in Excel about creating a simple spreadsheet and formatting it as a table. So we're going to go ahead and use that spreadsheet to create our graph for this session. So as you can see here, my data is here. It's from the first 9 weeks grading period, and this is my formatted table. This data here is the percentage weight that each category holds. And then right below it is my column chart that I created. So today we are going to recreate or try to recreate this chart. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is we're going to go to the second 9 weeks. This is the data that we are going to use to create our chart. So first off, I want to go through all the different charts that Excel offers. So as you can see, this is where you are when you're first in Excel. I went to Insert, and right here in the middle are all the charts that Excel offers. So these are the three that I'm really going to kind of get into, but this is everything that they offer. So here you've got your combo charts, and your combo charts are basically going to be your standard column chart with the combination of a line graph. And I'll click here, you can click there, and you can see the different types of combo charts that they offer. And then next is going to be your waterfall, funnel, stock, surface, and radar chart. And again, you click this arrow and it's going to show you a picture of each chart and what it'll look like. So as you can see right now, if I was to hover over the waterfall, a chart does come up in the background, but there's no information because I haven't selected any data yet. And then right here, you have your tree map and your sunburst. And so if at any time you want to create a chart, or you have a set of data and you want to create a chart and you're not sure which chart to choose from, well, Excel automatically has recommended charts based on the data that you select, but you can also go to each chart and hover over it, and you can see that it shows you, or it tells you what this chart would be good to be used for. So for example, you've got your sunburst. So then you have your statistical charts here, your histograms, and your box and whiskers, and your different types of histograms. So for example, here, if you wanted to use a histogram, it says, use this chart type to show the distribution of the data grouped into bins. So if that was something you wanted to do, then a histogram would be the chart that you would like to make. And then down here, you have your scattered XY plot charts and your bubble charts. Again, hover over, it explains what each chart is good for, and also shows you little pictures of what it'll look like. So today, for today's lesson, we are going to be using your standard clustered column chart. This is what we will be creating. And this chart is best used if you're wanting to compare several categories within one region. So for example, this chart would be good to be used if you wanted to compare all your students' grades in a semester or in a week, or for a certain subject. This would be a good chart to run. And so that's what we're going to be using, because we're going to be comparing the grades of the 4 students in the second 9 weeks. Now, this is a stacked column chart, and this chart is really good if you want to look at a single student's grades to see maybe where they are falling behind. You can run data based on their math grades and English grades, and it'll compare how each one stacks to each other. So you could see if maybe their grades aren't as great in math as it is in English, and you can know that maybe that's where they need more help. So here's another stacked column. And right here you can see, so these are all column charts. These right here are all column charts. The only difference between these and these right here is these are 2D and these are 3D. So it's just a visual difference. There's nothing different about what they're used for, is just what you prefer visually. And then next down here, you have your bar graphs. So your bar graphs are basically your custom or your column charts, but instead the columns are going to run horizontally. So these are really good if you're going to be comparing multiple categories. So for instance, I'm going to be comparing 4 students' grades. And so a bar graph would be a really good chart to use at this time. But I'm going to go ahead and do a column chart only because I think that is the most commonly used chart. And again, the difference here is that these columns will be 3D and these columns will be 2D. Then your next one is going to be your line charts. So you see a lot of your line charts when you get your state testing reports back, but you can also run your own or create your own line charts. So that way you can see the progress of a certain student within your class. And you can see the different types. There's some with markers. Then this one here, you can see where the top line will be where you want your students to be. And then this is where your students are actually going to be. Here's your 3D line. So again, difference between these and this is just going to be visually the 3D effect. Then you have your area graphs down here. And then lastly, you have your pie graphs. So your pie graphs are going to be good when you are wanting to show a portion or show portions within a whole. So for example, I have information here showing homework is worth 15%, quizzes 25%, test 50%, participation 10%. And so a pie graph would be really good to run to visually see what weight each of those categories hold. Okay, so to begin, we're going to insert the chart, but first we have to select the data that we want to show into our chart. So inserting a chart, there are 2 ways to do it. Okay, so first I select my data. So you can do Alt F1, and you can see it automatically just pops up the most recommended chart by Excel. So that was really easy. So you see here, it has your chart title. It has all my students listed here. And then each bar represents one of the homework assignments. Okay, so I'm going to delete that. Another way to insert a graph is you can select your data. You go to insert. And then you go here and you can choose your graph, or you can go to recommended charts. Again, the recommended charts are the charts that Excel feels would be the best representation of the data you've selected. So here's an example of the bar graph that we were talking about. Basically, just like the clustered column one. So, but we're going to go ahead and go with this chart because I like the way that it looks the best. Okay. So so looking at this graph, it has a chart title, which I want. It's got all my homework assignments listed down here, and then each column represents a student. Now, I want to show you one different thing. So when we did it the first way, right, when we did Alt F1, and this is the chart that Excel brought up, I want you to see the difference. Both have chart titles. Both have the grades listed on the side, the grade percentages, but this chart separated out by, each section was separated out by the student, and then each column represents one of the homework assignments or quizzes, whereas this one, it broke it out by the different categories, and then each column is represented by a student. So looking at the two, this is a lot of columns to try to compare. So visually, this one looks better. And so I'm going to go ahead and delete this chart. And we're going to go ahead and start working with this one. So let's say that you started with this chart and you're going to start formatting and you decide that you want the students up here instead. Then there are several ways that you can change that. You can go to chart filters and go to select data. And then you can just switch the column rows. And now I'm back to that original format. But we're going to undo that and go back to where we were. Okay, so now that we've inserted our chart, I want to go over the different elements that pop up. So right here, you can see as soon as I wanted to show you that how easy it is to move your chart. So you can move it anywhere that you want on your spreadsheet. So now that we have our chart up, and once you click on it, you're going to see these 3 little boxes pop up. So this little box right here is your chart elements. So this is where you can add or remove certain chart elements. So for example, you've got your axis, which is your vertical axis and your horizontal axis. If you wanted to remove one, you could. Then here you have your axis titles. And so as you can see, if you're wondering what it'll look like, you don't actually have to select it. You can just hover over that element and it'll show you what it looks like. So once I get off of it, I no longer have axis titles and I hover over it and now the axis titles appear. Now I like having axis titles so I can label them. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. Then you can see it has a chart title. I'm going to leave that because I want to have a chart title. Then here you have data labels. Now I'm not going to select data labels because everything is really clustered and put together, but depending on the graph that you choose, you may want to have data labels. Now I want to show you, if you were to choose data labels, you click there, and then there's this arrow to the right. At this point, you can choose where your data is going to be labeled. So if I hover over center, it shows you where the data is in center, the inside in, inside base, outside in, or a data callout. So if you choose to have data labels, you can choose where they are located. So like I said, I'm going to remove my data labels. Then you can choose to have a data table. Now, if you are going to put your chart right next to the table of information, your data that you're in a presentation, you probably don't need a data table. But if you're going to put it on a different slide or you're going to put it somewhere different in your presentation, then you may want to have a data table. So I'm going to go ahead and choose a data table. And now that I've inserted the data table, it has squished all these lines together. So I'm going to go ahead and make my graph bigger. And I just go down to the corner, those 2 arrows, and now my graph is bigger. Okay. So getting back to the chart elements. Okay, so now we're here in the chart elements and we just entered a data table. Now you can go ahead and do error bars, or you can, the grid lines are those gray lines, and so they're already inserted. The legend is going to be to tell you what color means what. So as you can see, Donald Duck is blue, Michael Jordan is orange, Mickey Mouse is gray, and Dak Prescott is gold. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that there. So one thing I do want to show you again, the little arrow pops up next to legend. You can also choose where your legend goes. So you can put it on the right, you can put it on the top, the left, or the bottom, and then here's more options. I'm going to go ahead and put mine to the top because that is where I like it. Then you can also choose a trend line if you want a line to show, if you want to choose this specific one. If you want to look at Michael Jordan, you can choose a trend line and it'll follow each of these markers to kind of show you how his work is going. Okay, so as you can see, I clicked off and those boxes left. As soon as I click on, I have my 3 boxes left. So this is chart elements, and then underneath that is going to be chart styles. So if you click on the chart styles, you can see here that different types of charts pop up. So I've already started and I'm going through and I'm thinking that I really like this gray one. So I'm going to go ahead and insert the gray. But now looking at it, it has the data labels, and I don't like the data labels. So I'm going to go back to chart elements and I'm going to remove the data labels. Okay, so now we're back to where we were. Oh, and it also moved my legend here. And so I want my legend back at the top. So again, you can either go to chart elements, go to your legend and choose top, or you can just simply click on your legend and pull it up to the top where you want it. And I'm going to go ahead and center that. Maybe not, I'm going to put it right there. Okay, so in chart styles as well is a different type of charts you can choose from if you choose to change it. And it's also, you can change the color schemes. So right now, this is the color scheme that's going on, but I can choose either one of these if I prefer their color palette better. I'm going to go ahead and stick with the color that I have. Okay. So then the last little box is going to be your chart filters. So we got in chart filters earlier to show how to switch the rows and the columns. But the chart filters are really good because if you want to just go and look at a certain student's information, then like, for example, say we want to look just at Donald Duck's grades. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unselect all of them, all the students, by clicking select all. And I'm going to click on Donald Duck. And now it's automatically going to show me just the information for Donald Duck. And then I will go down here. And click apply. No, maybe, oh, okay, let me redo it. So unselect, select all, and apply. So now you can see my chart is only showing Donald Duck's information. You can also do that with your categories. So instead of seeing homework 1, homework 2, I just want to see all the averages. So I'm going to unselect all of them and I'm going to go back and I'm just going to select the averages that I want to see. Now I just see the homework average for Donald Duck, Michael Jordan, Mickey Mouse, and Dak, quiz averages, and the test averages. Okay. Are there any questions on inserting or formatting at this time? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on. So one thing that I'm seeing right now, looking at is that I lost my chart title. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into chart elements, and I'm going to select chart title. And there we go, we have it back because I feel those are very important. So that is one way to format your charts. And I'm going to show you now the second way. You click on there, and if you notice right here at the top, chart design now pops up in format. If you click on chart design, it's going to open up this banner that's going to allow you to have all the formatting options for your chart. So all these up here are very similar to what is offered on these 3 blocks down here. So as you can see, there's different layouts. And again, you hover over and it will visually show you the layout, and it'll also show you a list of the elements that are going to be on this chart. So when you create your chart, if you know you want a chart title, you want a legend, you want to have a table in it, then you can search for a layout that has those items. So again, you just go to each one if you choose to change your chart the way it is. I'm going to go ahead and leave mine the way it is. So here's another way to change colors. You can change them here, as well as going to chart styles here and going to colors. So as we have chart styles here, in this middle part are also chart styles. It's going to show you all the different chart styles that it offers. And again, you hover over and it can show you different styles as you're going. And I think I like that one. I think I'm going to go with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that one. And I'm going to look to see if it's changed anything. I still have my axis titles, my chart title. My legend is still on top. I've got my numbers here. So everything is still the way that I want it. So now we're going to go in and start to customize this chart even more. Okay. I had a question in the chart. I'm going to. Okay. Okay, so right now, I'm going to show you how to go ahead and change your chart title. So as you can see, it's just a text box. I clicked into it and I backspace, and I'm going to go ahead and call this second 9 weeks. And then I'm going to go ahead and change these labels. And this is going to be grading or grade percentages. And I'm going to go down here. I'm going to do, so as you can see, I accidentally removed it by pushing backspace. And so all I have to do is go back to my element and add axis titles, click on it again, and now they should be there. Now, unfortunately, it did remove this, so I'm gonna have to retype it. Down here, and to change it to assignment. Oh, I got rid of it again. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. And let's add them in one more time. Okay. Double click in there. And change this one. Okay. Now, if I want to change the size, I click in it, select, and you saw it pop up, or you go home, and then you can change the sizes just like you would in a normal text box. Bump this up to 12. And I'm going to go ahead and bump this up. Oh, I didn't select all of it. And bump this up to 12 as well, so it matches. Okay, so right now you can see our chart. I think it's coming along. I've got my axis titles, I've got the columns, I've got my legend here, and I've got the title. So one thing I want to show you is I want to show you how to add information. So say I've already created this chart and it's in the middle of the school year, and then all of a sudden I get a new student and I'm like, oh, I don't want to have to redo this chart. I just got it the way I want it to. Well, if your data is a formatted table like this, and I get a new student, okay, as you can see, okay, so as you can see that right away, it just added her as part of the table. And so I don't have to do anything besides enter her information. And now you can see that I now have Minnie Mouse on my chart. So if you have a formatted table set of data, it's as easy as adding them in like that. So now let's say that you don't have a formatted table. All you have is your spreadsheet with your information like this. I'm going to show you how to add information like that. So the first thing we're going to do is right now, when I select this chart, it's showing me it's pulling data from this table, but I want it to pull data from this information right here. So what I'm going to do is I click on my chart and I go to chart design and I go to select data. Now see it's showing second 9 weeks, it's showing these rows and columns here. So I'm going to go here. Well, first what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to come here. So I'm going to erase that. And then I'm going to come here and I'm going to select this information here. And then I'm going to press enter. So now it's pulling the information from right here. Okay, so now I have, and you can see that it's selected this information now. So now I'm going to have my new student come in. And she's a great student, so we're going to give her hundreds across the boards. Okay, so now when I click on here, it's going to select this information. All I'm going to do is go down here and get my 2 arrows and pull it down. Now I've made her part of the data collection, and now Minnie Mouse is showing up on my chart. Okay, so now looking at the chart, I think it looks really good. I'm very, very happy with it. But if I wanted to still make some changes, I can go in and start to change each of the elements within the chart. So when you double click on the chart, this format chart area comes up. So because I clicked on the chart itself, then it's going to want to give me formatting options for the entire chart. So for example, if I was to put no fill, it's going to take away that black background. So I could go back if I decide to change the color. I can change the color right here and I can make everything a gray color. But I don't like the gray color. And so we're going to make it all go back to black. Okay, then if I'm still happy with that, I can go in and I can select each of those graphs and then, or each of those bars, and then I can come in and now I can change those. So I can change it to no fill, or I can make them full. And now we can give them a color and make them right there. So you can make changes like that. Then for your legend, you can select the legend as a whole. And again, it'll fill in the whole thing. Or you can actually go in and just choose each individual part of the legend and just fill that portion of it. Okay. So you can do that with each one of the parts. And as you see, if it's got writing in it, then you get text options where you can fill it. You can change the outline. Right now it doesn't have an outline. I want it to give it a outline. I want it to outline it in white, then it would outline it in white. So there's several different ways for you to format and customize your charts. You can do it by these three little tabs here, or you can do it under chart design and format here. And then you can also double click and it's going to give you more formatting options on each individual part of the chart. Okay, so looking at our chart, we're happy with it. And if there are no more questions, then we will go ahead and end the session. Thank you for being here with me. And in the chat, I am actually going to stop sharing my screen. And in the chat, I am going to put links to our website that has this and recording and future trainings. And I'm also going to put a link to our YouTube channel at Pecos Valley REC 8, where you can go and find all our past trainings. So right here is the YouTube channel link. And here is the link to our website. Again, thank you for joining me. Have a good afternoon.